And at 10, pizzeria. I don't think it's a secret that the main reason people compare Freddy Fazbear's to Chuck-E-Cheese is because it's the same shtick. I think it's pretty obvious. Obvious enough, in fact, that I don't really need to talk about it, but this is going out in like 2 weeks' time, so I needed numbers, okay? I'm literally filming this on the day that Security Breach is supposed to come out. So anything that relates it to Chucky's, if any, since this is one that takes place in a giant mall, and I don't think Chucky's has done that, it won't be on the list, because the game doesn't release for like another 7 hours. But I haven't heard of any other children's pizzerias with animatronics and all like the hoopla of cardboard pizza. I mean, like there may be some overseas, but in the States where this game takes place and where the creator is from, I don't think that there's any competitors to Chuck-E-Cheese. The idea of a pizzeria with robot animatronics that sing is pretty unique, so I think that's fairly obvious. Also the name, Freddy Fazbear Chuck-E-Cheese. And at 9, animatronics. Now, not only are the animatronics just kind of the same, since, you know, they're all anthropomorphized animals, but even the characters seem the same. The inspiration for Chica could be one of many things, but most notably, in this case at least, one of Chucky's friends from the Chuck-E-Cheese lineup is called Helen Henny, which would make a lot of sense given the alliteration in Chica's name and the fact that they're both chickens. Helen Henny and Chica the chicken, I think, are pretty obviously meant to be connected, and while Bonnie and Freddy may not have direct comparisons, I think that, like, the whole, like, it's a pizzeria thing, the animatronics are pretty solid evidence as to why they're the same as well. Plus, Foxy may be in some ways based on the character of Rolf the Wolf from the Rock of Fire Explosion show of his Pizza Place's animatronic band, which is also a part of Chucky's group, as they both have their own stage apart from the other characters, and both animatronics are animals part of the Canidae family, or Canidae family. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but that's just like foxes, wolves, dogs, etc. And at 8, arcade. And while plenty of places have arcades, I mean, like, hell, even my cousin has an arcade, but that's because he's absolutely rolling in it. The main comparison is the whole prize counter thing. Not many places have a prize counter, but it is certainly not exclusive to Chucky's. A bowling alley in my hometown has one, Dave & Buster's has one, the list goes on. I mean, if they really want to generate like a customer base based on the arcade, they usually have a prize counter. But I think that it's the arcade and prize counter in combination with everything else that kind of solidifies it as being a Chuck-E-Cheese. Only Chucky's has all three of these previous points, and even for me, I haven't gone to a Chucky's in God knows how long, but I can still picture the arcade clear as day, and all I need to do to change that memory into a memory of being at a Freddy Fazbear's is just change the animatronics. I can change them simply enough since it's not really a memory and really a recreation of a memory, like how the Rick uploads the virus in the season 3 premiere of Rick and Morty, since he makes a totally fabricated origin story, which we have since learned at least has a little bit of truth to it. So basically it's like that, okay? Take parts of something that I remember and change small things about it, and then boom, I'm in Freddy Fazbear's. Change Chucky to Freddy, and the guy in the costume dancing with the kids is a Bonnie now, and now he's leading kids to the back room where the other animatronics are. Oh no.
Number 7. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria is obviously the main place we'd all want to go, but the real question is, which version of the restaurant would you want to visit? Would you want to see it when it was all shiny and new, or when it was more worn out and fallen into disrepair? Or would you prefer to visit it when it was completely abandoned? Maybe try to bring a friend there to give them a little scare? There have been lots of different versions of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, but I think the most iconic one that most of us would be keen to see in real life would be the first location we ever saw in Five Nights at Freddy's, the first game. Just seeing the office with its sliding mechanical doors would be a huge trip.
And at 6, closing. Also the fact that due to COVID, because you know, global pandemic, a load of Chuck-E-Cheese locations were closing isn't helping the comparison to FNAF, considering how multiple Chuck-E-Cheese locations closed as well, not just the one. Like I said, some people were blaming these closings on missing children and other things, like in the last point, but that's not really the case. They were just starting to lose too much money to keep their restaurants operational, so they just had to close some of them. Did they close a location in Hurricane, Utah, where the games take place? No. But they closed one in Layton, Utah, which is like a 4-hour drive from Hurricane. Hurricane is actually closer to Las Vegas than it is to Layton. So I think we're safe to say that these pizzerias are safe from killing sprees, hopefully. And even rebranding part of their kitchen to Pascali's Pizza and Wings didn't really do them much good. But it helped Matt Patton get a hold of a pizza to test it, to see if the Chuck-E-Cheese pizzas were reassembled or if they were just born that way in a food theory. And turns out they're just born that way. Halfway through, in at number 5, Twitter hoax. The Twitter account of Diamond Zia on June 27, 2020 tweeted out 3 photos with the line of FNAF will be real in 48 hours. These pictures were of news articles. One from the USA Today titled 5 children have gone missing inside Chuck-E-Cheese. Parents report smells coming ... One from the Associated Press called post-hour worker at Chuck-E-Cheese reported dead at 27. And a final one from Something News titled night shift workers at Chuck-E-Cheese's claims strange movements from animatronics during post hours. However, this title had animatronics spelt incorrectly. It said animatronics. Everyone was freaking out at these pictures of the articles, okay, particularly the first one, and they were shared all over the internet, okay? People were losing their minds, especially because this was around the time where Chuck-E-Cheese was closing. However, people didn't realize that these were fake, okay? How are they fake, you ask? Simple source code editing. Well, okay, it's simple to me because I know how to do it, but if you don't know, it may seem complicated. But in reality, you can change what anything says on any website, but it will only change for you until you reload the page by editing the source code. All you need to do is find the aspect that you're looking for after you right click and click inspect. Yeah, especially on Google Chrome, it's easy. Once you do that, once you find the aspect, you can change it to whatever you want. You can change pictures, you can change titles, you can do whatever. So whoever made the original image had found an article potentially already about Chuck-E-Cheese closing from USA Today and then changed the title to 5 children go missing. And the same thing with the other articles. Hence why there were only images of the articles and not the actual links, okay? It was a hoax that blew up and people actually believed it, and some still do, and some think that's related to this restaurant, but it's not, okay? That was all fake, and plus that was 2 years ago, alright? There's no relation between those at all. And at 4, FNAF 4 Bites. FNAF 4 may be one of the most confusing games in the franchise, with seemingly nobody having solved it to this day unless Scott just hasn't mentioned it, but the bite of 83, which takes place at the end of this game, makes these scarily like a real FNAF location. Not because something like this has happened before, or at least as far as I could tell from my research, but because this isn't a death that has to do with possessed animatronics or crazy technology, or resurrected purple people being bruised from the inside thanks to an amalgam of animatronic parts. No, this just has to do with an animatronic being given way too much juice. Matt Pat tackled this exact topic in a theory back from 2017, where he determined that to cause a catastrophic brain failure like we see Crying Child suffer in that bite, each of the 8 teeth that he gets bit with would have had to been applying over 14,000 newtons of force. 14,758 newtons of force to be exact. Which, like I've been saying, is serious overkill for moving an animatronic head. That would require multiple industrial grade pneumatic actuators that you wouldn't be able to fit in the suit, okay? This isn't a spring lock failure, like a lot of people say. This was something that is tangible in this reality, and that's probably even more terrifying than all of the jump scares at once.
Number 3, Fazbear Funtime Service. Fazbear Funtime Service is more like a delivery service for the Freddy's experience, but that being said, for most of us the world over, that is the closest we've been getting to a restaurant experience for the last little while. Because there was this whole thing where we couldn't really go outside for a while, remember that? So for that reason, I am going to count this experience as a restaurant. Delivery experience. We're counting it. And also, how cool would it be to have your favorite animatronics come to your home and visit you, assuming they were in working order, not malfunctioning and trying to kill you. And assuming that your friends couldn't just send them your way at all hours of the day and night. I'm definitely down to get a surprise visit from Chica with maybe some pizza. I know you can't do that in the game, but wouldn't it be cool if they also brought you pizza? But I would not be down for that in the middle of the night while I was asleep. Just to knock on the window while you're sleeping and just Chica standing there with pizza and a knife. No thanks. Is it weird if Chica brings you fried chicken as well, because she is a chicken? I wonder if they have fried chicken at Freddy's. I would totally get some.
And ultimately, in number 2, employee manual. Oh, well, do you think that I'm talking about the FNAF employee manual? Absolutely not. I wish it was. This number is actually much more concerning than that, because a particular image sent people into a frenzy with the idea that Chuck-E-Cheese restaurant animatronics are actually gonna hurt you. A post from Twitter user @PabloThinghouse made mention of the restaurant's instruction manual, which is for employees, which included a section that said Chuck-E-Cheese himself had facial recognition software that would cause him to come to life and attack any intruders caught on the property after hours. Sound familiar, anyone? With the actual manual in the now hidden or deleted tweet saying, quote, "It is always important that all Chuck-E-Cheese night shift employees must wear a spare Chuck-E-Cheese costume head to avoid any animatronic facial recognition, because if they spot any humans in the building post hours, they will automatically detect that person as a criminal trying to tamper with objects on the building, and that won't lead to anything good." And Pablo's reaction was probably realistic here, since they said, quote, excuse me? And the fact that this is supposed to be the actual manual makes me sad. However, I looked it up and it's not the case, but this is still kind of freaky. And finally, in at number 1, Nathan Dunlap. In December of 1993, after Chuck-E-Cheese had closed in Aurora, Colorado, Margaret Kohlberg, the manager, was tallying receipts in the back room. While she does that though, Bobby Stevens scrubs down the kitchen, and Sylvia Crowell, Ben Grant, and Colleen O'Connor all work in cleaning the main area. However, there is someone hiding in the bathrooms, 19-year-old Nathan Dunlap. Earlier that year, he had been working there as a cook before getting into an argument over his hours, which resulted in him losing his job. He was looking for revenge. He exited the washroom and began firing, killing everyone in the building. First Sylvia, then Ben, then Colleen. Then he went into the kitchen, where the bullet entered Bobby's jaw and sent him flying across the room. And then Nathan went to the back, where Margaret opened up the safe before being shot twice. Nathan then filled her bag with $1,500 cash and arcade tokens and keychains. Thanks to the security cameras, he was promptly arrested and sentenced to death. But Bobby did end up surviving, luckily, and he was actually able to testify at Nathan's trial. I got this theory from Matt Patton, his first ever game theory on FNAF, because he was relating it to the events of the actual series. But the fact that this lines up so well is pretty terrifying. And while it may not be true that it's based off of that, I think those stories are a little too close to just not think about it. Well, first of all, let's get this out of the way instantly. If FNAF was real, it would be horrible. Just straight up. 5 kids would have gone missing on one of their locations, and the company probably would have closed down. But let's assume that people would still end up going, whether it's because they didn't believe the lies or thought that the government made it up, or because it's their choice, or because they're a YouTuber who wants views. Why are you looking at me like that? Well, assuming that people still went to the restaurant because perhaps maybe they vanished around the area instead of inside the place, what would it be like to live in a real Five Nights at Freddy's? For a kid, it would be pretty awful, but you also wouldn't know it. The world would be dangerous and anyone could be William Afton's next victim, but you wouldn't know that there was a serial killer on the loose with murderous animatronics able to disguise themselves and hide in plain sight that are willing to kill at any moment. But I mean, like, to be fair, that's also like real life, minus the animatronics. For adults, if you have kids, you may be worried. I mean, any parent is always worried about their kids, but if there was a group of kids who went missing in your area, I'm sure that there would at least be a small amount of paranoia. And honestly, it would be reasonable. I mean, I grew up in a house where my father was always worried. So much so that my sister couldn't walk up to her friend's house up the street without him watching to make sure she was okay. And while that would probably be extreme for most parents, if there was a very real threat of kidnapping, I'm sure that there would be a lot of curfews. For the sake of this entire thing, we also have to assume that the police didn't investigate the interiors of the animatronics themselves, despite them smelling like death and leaking body fluids, including blood. Since that's something literally anyone with common sense would check when investigating the disappearance of children and then learning that animatronics are leaking blood and smelling like a dead body. But what of the technology that we see in these games? Would animatronics that can alter their appearance be realistic? No. Of course not. The spring-locked suits, the illusion discs, the twisted animatronics, and the like are all extremely improbable considering the actual technology of not only our time, but the 80s when this would have normally taken place. At least, if we have a rough idea of the timeline, which honestly at this point, we could be totally wrong about the timeline. The technology in the games is so highly advanced that we have absolutely no idea what else they could have access to. They could have smartphones in the 80s for crying out loud. And if they don't, then William should have capitalized on that rather than murdering countless innocent kids, because he could have literally been a billionaire. The highly advanced technology would have to be disregarded in terms of the abilities of William Afton. So while this seems like a fight that nobody could really win, realistically, it wouldn't be as bad as we think, at least in those terms, since even Chuck-E-Cheese, the closest thing to Freddy Fazbear's in our world, obviously, still only has the most simple robotic abilities known to man, despite the popularity of Five Nights at Freddy's and their ability to capitalize on that trend by taking some of those concepts, like the advanced robotics, not the dead kids, and then converting them into real life, because like the concepts in the actual pizzeria, not having kids go missing, like I said, that's a bad idea. Although based on comments left on previous videos, especially about how a real-life Freddy's would happen, there have been plenty of people that are willing to die, or more likely to go to Chuck-E-Cheese if it was more dangerous for some reason. Y'all are weird. But one final query. How would YouTubers handle it? Clearly, there are YouTubers in this world thanks to the mention of MatPat, or at the very least Game Theory in the Fazbear Frights books, so what of the others? Well, we would most likely not be talking about FNAF, something that I'm sure a lot of you would enjoy, but also something that you wouldn't be aware of, which is a whole other can of worms that I won't be getting into today, because you wouldn't know about FNAF because FNAF wouldn't be a thing. However, I'm sure that there would be plenty of true crime and conspiracy YouTubers heading to a or the same Freddy Fazbear's where the kids went missing in order to solve the case, or really just talk about it and get nowhere with it. Sounds like someone I know. Since they don't have the clearance or the equipment to do an actual investigation, or on a potentially closed case. Shane Dawson would 100% have gone there for that same conspiracy theory video, and the psychic twins would definitely have showed up at some point and definitely sensed something, but not quite known what it was. Ooh. MatPat may have made a food theory video about it because he made a food theory video about Chuck-E-Cheese, but the thing is, these YouTubers coming to investigate, would they be William's next targets? It's an interesting question because as far as we know, he's only killed one adult, and that was Henry. Every other victim has been a kid, so while they may be in more danger, there would clearly be a bigger issue in trying to deal with these YouTubers, especially if they get killed or die mysteriously shortly after visiting a Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. It would probably start some form of curse rumor that would only get more people to go there to try to solve that case. But how would Freddy's have dealt with the pandemic? Would they have made enough to survive the years of quarantine? Or would they, like our Chuck-E-Cheese, have to file for bankruptcy? Would they get to open their Pizzaplex? Or would some problematic tweets from William Afton rise and cause the restaurant to get cancelled for calling Chica a he? These are all good questions that we will never really have an answer for because, well, FNAF isn't real. And that's why people keep commenting that nothing in these videos is scary. No, it's not real. Can't actually hurt you. That's why it's not scary. Scary is subjective. Just relax. And at 10, it's real, okay? A lot of people couldn't tell if I was being serious or not in the shorts, okay? And I guarantee you that this is actually real. This isn't something I'm making up. It's not a hoax. It's actually a thing. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is real. Or, well, is going to be. Kind of. Because of the company that made MrBeast Burger possible, called Virtual Dining Concepts, they did announce that they partnered with Cawthon to take the first ever fictional video game setting and turn it into a real-life delivery restaurant, okay? Emphasis on the delivery part on that, however, because I cannot stress this enough, there is no actual location that you can walk into. I'm going to be saying this a lot in this video, okay? Because seemingly no matter how many times I say it, nobody gets it. There is no actual location, okay? I leave a pinned comment on the short and nobody reads it. People even replied to that comment that said there was no physical location asking where it was going to be built. Guys, it's really happening, okay? You'll be able to order it, but you can only order it online through food delivery apps, just like how they handle MrBeast Burger, okay? I just hope that this stuff is actually seasoned, okay? I may be white, but I do have taste buds. In at 9, Scott Cawthon. Apparently a lot of people think that after Scott retired, Steel Wool ended up getting the copyright to FNAF, but this couldn't be further from the truth. As you can see on the announcement, as well as any image of the logo for this delivery service, it does maintain that FNAF and all of its components are still under the copyright of Scott Cawthon. Virtual Dining Concepts website even says that it partnered with Scott and not anybody else in order to make this delivery service come to life. So yeah, I mean there's not much else to say about this, okay, but Scott is the only person on the FNAF side, at least as far as we know currently, that is involved in the process. MrBeast isn't involved, Steel Wool seemingly isn't involved since they haven't mentioned it at all, since they only make money off Security Breach and Help Wanted. So yeah, okay, Scott is still the copyright owner and owner of the series, and I'm pretty sure that even for the next part of the series it will remain that way. He may not be involved that much, but whoever the series is handed off to won't have the copyright or the ownership. It will just be stuff that is pre-approved by Scott. In at 8, Twitter. There isn't really a lot of new information since we last updated you in the previous short on the subject, the second one, not the first one. However, the restaurant still have an official Twitter account known as @FazbearsPizza, and based on their account details, they've actually been planning this since January of last year at least, considering that that's when the account joined. You can also sign up for email and text reminders on their website, FreddyFazbearsPizza.com, and they've been responding to quite a few people on Twitter, but not me, unfortunately. It's kind of annoying, really. But they also haven't sent out any text reminders since the last video as well. Like, I signed up for text reminders, haven't gotten one, which really makes me believe that this was only meant to kind of course correct since the announcement came early thanks to the tweet that had the leak that blew up. Okay? Virtual Dining Concepts really needed to make sure that their website didn't have the information about upcoming projects available for just anyone to see, especially when the fanbase surrounding the delivery service is as intense as this one. This may have sprung up thanks to people searching for ARG clues in the wake of Matt Pat's last FNAF theory video about the Fazbear Frights books before he released his Please Stop video, which in my mind is the most likely scenario of how this was found, but since the account hasn't tweeted in a week now, I'm pretty sure it was just made public so that they might as well like lean into the fact that we already knew about it, so yeah. And at 7, headlines. The Twitter account of Diamond Zia on June 27, 2020 tweeted out 3 photos with the line of, quote, FNAF will be real in 48 hours. These pictures were of news articles, one from USA Today titled 5 children have gone missing inside Chuck-E-Cheese, parents report smells coming ... One from Associated Press called post-hour worker at Chuck-E-Cheese reported dead at 27, and a final one from the Something News titled night shift workers at Chuck-E-Cheese claim strange movements from animatronics during post hours. However, this title had animatronics spelled incorrectly. It said animatronics. Everyone was freaking out, understandably, and the pictures of the articles, particularly the first one, were shared all across the internet. People were losing their minds, especially because this is around the time where Chuck-E-Cheese was announcing their closure. However, people didn't realize that these were just fake. How are they fake, you ask? It's simple. Source code editing. You can change what anything says on a website using like source code inspection, but it will only change for you. Like until you like reload the page, like by editing the source code. You just need to like find the aspect you're looking for, and then once you do, you can change it to whatever you want. So whoever made the original image had found an article about Chuck-E-Cheese closing from USA Today, and then changed the title to 5 children going missing, and the same thing with the other articles. Hence why there are only images of the articles and not actual links. It was a hoax that blew up and honestly probably hurt Chuck-E-Cheese even more. And at 6, No Relation. XBlue is a YouTube group that has been working on making multiple FNAF locations real. They've done FNAF 4 and recently seemingly completed a recreation of FNAF 1, despite their channel description saying in progress, but their video saying that it's done. So maybe they're adding the finishing touches right now. The YouTube channel, to my knowledge, has no affiliation with Virtual Dining Concepts or Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Delivery. However, their videos are incredibly cool and interesting, so if you want to see their rendition of a real FNAF, go check them out on YouTube, okay? I'm sure that that if you're this deep into the FNAF algorithm, you've already seen it, but I might as well point you in their direction anyway, okay? Go subscribe to them. They're pretty cool. However, they do not have any relation to virtual dining concepts or this delivery service as far as I know, okay? There also is no real location for this delivery service to operate from, again, so their videos have nothing to do with this announcement. Honestly, the announcement seems like it was rushed, again, because we ended up finding out thanks to the website having the information, then everyone started tweeting about it. But we were like, actually, we were 2 days late to the party on that short. By the way, that was a whole other thing that was 2 days before, and I was like, oh, we should probably release a short. And besides, if they were affiliated, wouldn't they have made the FNAF 1 location first instead of second after FNAF 4? Or wouldn't they just have not posted it on YouTube because, you know, NDAs, legal stuff, Scott loving the element of surprise? Yeah, I'd think so too.
Number 5. Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental. This one is also not a typical restaurant, but it sure would be a cool and creepy location to visit. I don't think I could bring myself to crawl through a vent, so not sure how much of it I would personally get to see, although I imagine any guests visiting for rentals don't have to crawl through vents, right? Or are any customers just delivered the animatronics like in special delivery? Either way, maybe visiting as a tour guide or a prospective customer makes the most sense here. And who knows, maybe they'll have a sampling of exotic butters for you to snack on while you get a tour of the facility. I would definitely be down for that. Some tasty exotic butters.
In at 4, no animatronics. Guys, I cannot stress this enough, there is no actual location, meaning that there won't be any animatronics that you can meet, unless your Uber Eats driver wants to go the extra mile and for some reason has a spare FNAF costume laying in his trunk or in his backpack. I don't really think it's gonna happen, and you know what, if they do have a spare one, that's gonna be questionable. Obviously things can change, like they may have a uniform or something to give to the drivers, but I can pretty much guarantee that that's not going to happen. Okay, especially not like that, okay? If MrBeast even doesn't do that with MrBeast Burger and it's MrBeast, I don't think that they're gonna be doing it for anyone else, okay? Sorry guys, but you won't be meeting any actual animatronics unless some seriously hardcore drivers go all out, or there's some secret ARG element that Scott plans on including that we have no idea about, okay? But also, that's not me saying that there is an ARG. I don't fully believe that there is, but the appearance of a Freddy Fazbear's delivery service after the community had been told that no non-official business would participate is very sus in my opinion, okay? Scott is a sussy baka, all aboard the sus bus. Plus, it said that the pizza rolls are gonna have game tie-ins. So, unless that's like a name, that's additionally sus. Dude, it's like I'm seeing this delivery service vent all over Skeld. Getting close to the end in number 3, disturbing desires. Okay, so this is something that while not directly translating into like the FNAF world or from FNAF to our world, it's a serious issue that I've seen in the comments, okay? So we've made a series of videos about how we could turn a closed Chuck-E-Cheese location into a FNAF joint, or even all of them into FNAF joints, but you see, in the comments of those videos, which you should totally go watch by the way, links in the iCard, and then share the videos with Scott because that sounds like a fun project even if it's just like for a week, please. If MrBeast can open a fast food chain, Scott, I'm sure you can make FNAF real. The comments of those videos, okay, are full of various people telling me that they think it would be a great idea to have a real FNAF because then they could go and die in the restaurant and possess an animatronic. What? Why the absolute hell would you want that? First of all, okay, possession isn't real. That's not a thing in real life. I have yet to see any real evidence about it or anything paranormal, okay? But in addition to that, even going by FNAF rules, you would need to suffer heavily when you die in order to generate the agony that is needed to possess something. Since in FNAF, all possession is actually just a manifestation of your extreme agony grabbing onto something that's nearby, as we learned from Fazbear Frights and Dr. Phineas Taggart. If you're happy that you're in the FNAF restaurant and you're happy that you're dying there so you can possess something, you wouldn't end up possessing something because you wouldn't be in agony. You'd be happy. So, this is just a bad idea overall. don't do it. And ultimately, in at number 2, no MrBeast. I've seen a load of comments about people saying, why would MrBeast do this, or making jokes like MrBeast is gonna do a whoever kills 5 kids first gets $1 million video. But MrBeast has no affiliation with Virtual Dining Concepts, which is the company making this delivery service possible, okay? MrBeast doesn't own it, he doesn't have any stake in it from what I know, he has nothing to do with Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Delivery. I don't want there to be any issues that come up because people think that he is affiliated with this, okay? Jimmy has nothing to do with Freddy's. He only has affiliation with MrBeast Burger, which was also made possible by Virtual Dining Concepts. Me introducing it like that was just that you know that it was real. The company that made MrBeast Burger possible also is making FNAF possible. The two aren't related, except just because the company made both happen. I don't know if that makes you disappointed or happy about it, but there is no connection to MrBeast whatsoever unless they end up sponsoring him for a video so that they can like get the word out even more, or so that he can make like a version of the restaurant for a video and invite FNAF tubers or FNAF fans over for a chance to win it in a similar fashion to how he invited people over to win a chocolate factory. But even if that video does happen, it will only be a sponsorship deal and not an actual partnership, okay? It's like just like when YouTubers get sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, okay? It's just a sponsor. We don't have any stake in Raid, okay? It would only be a sponsorship deal, okay? And the location that he would make wouldn't actually be a restaurant. It would only be used for that video and then it would be dismantled. Possibly even in the same place that he built the chocolate factory, assuming that he's renting like that unit or owns it. And finally, in at number 1, delivery service. I cannot emphasize this enough, okay? I saw a lot of people commenting saying that there's a real location finally, or asking where it is, or why would they do that. It's not that kind of restaurant. It's not a restaurant, it's a delivery service. Just like how you can't actually walk into a MrBeast Burger, there will be no physical location for you to visit. The whole point of Virtual Dining Concepts is that existing kitchens have the ability to make these, and they can opt in, turning them into outlets for these recipes. Like when you order MrBeast Burger, there is no actual MrBeast Burger restaurant. It's something that like a Wendy's or something is like making the food either in their kitchen or in a food truck on their property, but you can't actually like go up to that food truck and order. It will be the same concept for this place, okay, but with places that already serve these kinds of food. As it says on the Virtual Dining Concepts website, quote, "Don't change who you are. We have brands that fit your current kitchen, suppliers, and way of working." So there is, and most likely will not be, a real Freddy Fazbear's unless Scott intends to make it like a 2-week special location in the future for potential lore or whatever, okay? But there is none at the moment, and there won't be when this launches. You just order this on food delivery apps, okay? No. So there's always been this desire from the community for a real Freddy Fazbear's, and it's been present since the first game, because for some reason they all think that it's a good idea to have a restaurant whose fictional series is built around the murder of unknowing kids to have a real world counterpart. And while I do believe that it would make an incredible amount of money, and it could be an outlet for Scott to divulge some more lore to us, there are plenty of sick people out there. So sick in fact that they might just want to recreate the games and may just take on the role of William Afton. And plenty of people have said that they're willing to die at a real Freddy Fazbear's as long as they get to contribute to making the FNAF story real. And that's honestly probably why Scott has at one point said that he didn't want to make one. But is this really the case? Has Scott just ignored the massive opportunity he has in front of him in the form of a real Freddy Fazbear's? Well, maybe not, but it's definitely not going to happen anytime soon. Let me explain. We know how dedicated Scott is to dates, both in-game and IRL, when releasing or talking about his games. He released FNAF 2 87 days after the first, like how we were all focused on the bite of 87 from the first game. Any date that he has put in the series has been solid, and even if things are changing, he always stuck to the bite of 87 and the bite of 83. Dates have always been important to Scott. And as any fan of the series that has at least tried their hand at their own timeline can tell you, FNAF 3 takes place 30 years in the future. In fact, the events of FNAF 3 take place in around 2023. And while that's quite the coincidence in-game, because like 30 years in 2023, I don't know why I think there's a coincidence. I think just maybe because they both have 3s. Anyway, the thought is that perhaps, while we may not get a real Freddy Fazbear's this year or the next, that 2023 is a possibility for when a real Freddy Fazbear's or even a real Fazbear Frights could open. I mean, if he started planning now, it would definitely take a while, right? Hell, maybe he's already started planning, but now he has to wait because of COVID, or he's just planning on opening it up in 2023. And by Fazbear Frights, I mean the location of the third FNAF game, not the book series. And I mean, they are going to need a set for the upcoming FNAF movie, whenever it ends up going out, so maybe this is all just getting us prepared for a real FNAF. I mean, there was that Nicolas Cage FNAF movie ripoff that I'm sure was just a cash grab trying to capitalize on the FNAF movie hype before the actual FNAF movie came out. But could this be what Scott was planning from the beginning? Getting everyone hyped for the possibility of a real location, or what a real location would look like in his mind with the movie and the books which expand on the lore, because he was planning to open one for 2023 at the same time that Fazbear Frights would have opened in the FNAF universe. It would make sense, especially for Scott. And he's really running out of ways to give us more lore hints at this point. He's already released 3 full novels along with like 9 books that all have 3 shorter stories inside. And those, and especially the Fazbear Frights books, yeah, don't think I didn't notice the name, all had insane lore clues that helped us distinguish parts of the series that we've been previously confused about. Like how William had survived being in a blocked off room for 30 years without food or water because he was possessed by a kid. It also explains how he survived the fire from FNAF 3 and FNAF 6, and how he managed to get a hard drive in order to possess it before FNAF VR, so it could get scanned into the game and then he would become basically immortal. But now we've seen source code being used as a clue, the names of photo files that we've had to access with Notepad being a clue, audio files, voice actor listings. Hell, at one point I decoded the name of a color and how it relates to the Emily family as a clue. Not to mention the countless hours of searching through all the games and then the logbook, and oh my god. And yet still nobody has figured out FNAF 4. There aren't many new things he could do to bring us innovative ways for hints, unless that's what this place would be for, and he used this place as an ARG of sorts, where you can get lore clues and maybe even some answers to things like FNAF 4, or even who caused the bite of 87, so we can have a definitive answer instead of being stuck on either Mangle or Toy Chica or Golden Freddy. Hell, pull a WandaVision and base the series off a new decade each week so we can actually be there for the bite of 87 when it takes place and then gets shut down and then it reopens the next week as a new decade. Huh? And for those people saying Scott already said he wouldn't do it, first of all, people change their mind all the time, whether the reason is financial or not, and this place would be a huge success, especially after Chuck-E-Cheese closed over like 30 locations. The timing couldn't be better at this point, honestly. The big problem with this is the danger, and while I'm sure Scott would have as many security measures as he could, we need to remember what the story of the games is. It's about kids dying in these restaurants, and by one of the creators of the restaurants no less. I'm sure that Scott doesn't want to end up like Henry. These issues only heighten when you look at the discussions on this. I've seen comments on our videos talking about how they'd be happy to get stuffed inside of Freddy, and how they'd just be happy to die in Freddy Fazbear's. I'm not even going to make a joke about how you would rather want to be stuffed into Toy Chica, but also the comments about how they want to kill someone in a FNAF location, or how they want someone to kill someone in a FNAF location. No. Or how they want someone to go missing and the story of the games to be real. Look, I know you guys love the game, okay? I love it too. The story is incredible and cryptic in all the best ways. But what the hell? Like comments from the last video talking about what could be in like a real FNAF. Someone had commented, bro, if this became a thing, I would want to get murdered so I can possess a suit. That would be so epic. Ah, yes. No. It wouldn't be epic because you'd be dead. Possession isn't a real thing in the real world, okay? And even if it was, we don't know how it works. It's not like if there's a real world version of FNAF, that agony will be what determines you possessing something, okay? If possession was real, it wouldn't be something that simple, and it wouldn't be something you can control. And at that point, if you want to be murdered, it's not murder. Okay? It's self-assisted murder. Because, you know, if I say the actual word, YouTube's gonna flag this video. But that wouldn't cause you agony. You'd be happy to die. It wouldn't even work in the FNAF universe sense. But it's reasons like those that will ultimately get Scott to shut down this idea permanently. And even if they're meant as jokes, he probably wouldn't want to take the chance because, well, they may not all be jokes. And if anyone got hurt or worse because of something he opened, honestly, I don't think any of us would be able to forgive ourselves if we were the cause of that. Like if we were in Scott's shoes and we opened a Fazbear restaurant and then someone ended up getting killed because of the games and the restaurant, I wouldn't be able to handle it, I know that. Even for asking for it so much that he felt like he had to do it. So stop saying crazy shit like that. You know for a fact that you don't want to get killed at the place, even if it's what the original games do or whatever. That's not fun, it's not cool, don't say it. It won't help the situation. So if you really want a real FNAF, stop saying it so you can get killed there, okay? I can't believe that I had to say that. So is there a secret plan to open a real FNAF location in 2023? Probably not, but there very well could be.
Number 10. Fredbear's Family Diner. Fredbear's Family Diner was the original location before Freddy Fazbear's became a thing. Although, don't ask me exactly where it falls on the timeline, because honestly, that timeline is a mess, and it's somewhat unclear at this point what restaurants existed where and when along it. Although many members of the fanbase have tried their darndest to untie the tangled web, we don't know a ton about Fredbear's, but we do know that it was older and that Fredbear was the star of the show there. It likely had more of a rustic feel to it, despite still having animatronics. Number 9. Fazbear's Fright. I mean, not really a restaurant, but this still had probably all of the makings of one as a spooky yet semi-accurate replica of the original. Fazbear's Fright was created to be a haunted house kind of attraction showcasing artifacts collected from the real Freddy Fazbear's, and intended to profit off of basically all the negative press surrounding the family restaurant due to it being involved in multiple missing persons cases which remain unsolved. Even though they might not serve food like a standard restaurant would, Fazbear's Fright at the very least would have some kind of makings of a kitchen. We know this from the story What We Found that mentions the location, or a similar one at the very least, in the 8th Fazbear Frights book. There we learn that there is an oven that seemingly works, unfortunately in that case. And I'd bet they'd have some kind of candy to munch on in the gift shop at least, because you know people that are coming are gonna buy candy. Who doesn't want to buy candy? I guess people that don't like candy. There's gonna be a bunch of people now that are like, I don't like candy, and I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry you don't like candy, but also get with it, eat some candy, it's so tasty. Obviously I like candy too much. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists like it where we talk about restaurants, I don't know if we could do a part 2 to this one because there's only so many of them, but if you like it, click like and we will definitely give you more content about the restaurants. Because yeah, we could do that. Number 8. Circus Baby's Pizza World. Like Fredbear's Diner, this is another location that we don't know too much about. Once again, we're not even really sure where exactly this one falls on that complex and confusing timeline. I feel like as well, the graph for that timeline would have like points going up and down and like intersecting. I just can't wait until time travel is introduced in this whole world, because I bet that's gonna happen at some point, and as soon as time travel's involved, it's gonna be a complete mess. Circus Baby's Pizza World involved a whole different cast of animatronics, and its main star was Circus Baby. I personally would love to meet Circus Baby in real life, as she is one of the only animatronics, I think, that can serve you ice cream. Like out of her, she could actually make the ice cream for you and serve it to you, which I really love ice cream, so I'm like way too hyped about that. You just might want to make sure you stay in a crowded area when spending time with Circus Baby or accepting any tasty ice cream offerings, just to be safe.
In its 7th, menu. We don't currently have a proper menu for the Fazbear service yet, but currently what we know is that according to Virtual Dining Concepts website, quote, the easy to execute menu features craveable pizza rolls with a unique twist and game tie-ins that new and current fans will want to order over and over again. Now, whether the unique twist is death or a special topping is one thing, however I'm pretty sure that we can all guess they'll also be serving pizza with a variety of customizable topping, especially according to their Twitter, since they did ask what our favorite pizza topping was in a tweet. I'm disappointed that there weren't more favorite pizza place jokes in there in those replies. However, based on the comments on our first short on the subject, there are going to be some scarier replies to that tweet as well, because it's Twitter. Luckily, I don't think they'll be adding fingers to the meat add-ons. We can also guess that they'll be serving similar stuff to like a normal Chuck-E-Cheese or a pizza place, so soda, chicken as well, because Chica, I'm guessing, mini brownies, and probably a small variety of desserts. They may even have cake, because it's supposed to be a place you can go for your birthday, which I think would make the most sense, but only if the kitchen that ends up taking on this additional menu would also normally make cake.
Number 6. The Dark Circus. While this isn't isn't a location we've specifically visited through the games. It is referred to both in the special delivery FNAF AR game for mobile and the new Security Breach Fury's Rage side-scroller we were given to hold us over till the full Security Breach game drops, hopefully later this year. Hopefully. The Dark Circus would likely be a circus event that you could visit, get concessions and merch at, like a normal circus show, but where probably everyone involved would either be dressed up as the Freddy's cast but twisted and more sinister looking, or would actually be animatronics themselves. I don't know which one is scarier, but both seem pretty intense.
Halfway through into number 5, Real Pizzeria. Before the release of FNAF 4, Scott Cawthon's website was littered with references to the numbers 8 and 7 in the source code. This caused many fans, and even dear old MatPat, to think that these were references to the year 1987, when the famous frontal lobe bite occurred. However, other fans believed that these were coordinates, so after plugging them into Google Maps somehow, which honestly I don't understand how you would have gone about doing that. Like, do you just like type all the numbers in? Like, I don't know, I tried it and it didn't work. Whatever. After putting them into Google Maps somehow, they found a location that it actually gave. And the location was an actual pizzeria. Obviously, once this got shared, fans of the franchise started harassing the place trying to get answers. And while it was all one big coincidence, someone might have caught on before. Kathy Blockus reviewed the pizzeria saying that the robots kill. And I saw a robot fox killing a kid before in there. Run for your lives out of there. This was left 3 weeks before FNAF 4 was announced, which is when all the 8s and 7s appeared on the website. So while this is incriminating, they also left the place 5 stars on that review where they said that they were watching people get murdered. So obviously they're just a fan of the franchise.
Number 4. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. What if Freddy Fazbear's was a franchise? Well, if we had Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Places everywhere, we would get to find out. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place is the location we visit and manage in Pizzeria Simulator, which means that if Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place was a thing in real life, it would be a restaurant where each location would likely be slightly unique. Each one would be owned by an individual who pays for basically the right to use that name and is in charge of what kind of decor, animatronics, and likely menu items would be available to guests. Although, you know, you can't just make up new things usually with a franchise, but you do get to choose from like a list of things. A catalog, if you will. Having it as a franchise would also provide a lot of opportunity for there to be many different locations throughout the country and the world, which could be very exciting for fans. Or very terrifying if we were living in a world similar to the games, because then there'd probably be a lot of death.
And at 3, Therapy. Some of these comments make me really think that there should be a group fund for FNAF fan therapy sessions because, dear lord, I make a lot of jokes, okay? But like, I hope that these comments are jokes or supposed to be funny because, fingers as toppings? You want to watch the bite of 83 or 87? What the actual The comments on our first short about this delivery service, ignore me pronouncing first wrong, are very concerning if anything is supposed to be real. Okay, this is a part of why Scott kept saying that he wasn't going to make a real FNAF. And I think that this is like the best way that he could compromise to make it happen for the people who were good and wanted it, instead of, you know, the people like this. Like, why would he want to make an actual location if people keep commenting stuff like this? Seriously, I feel genuine concern for you if you're being serious about wanting to possess an animatronic. Yeah, be a fan of the series and love the series as much as you want. Don't sacrifice your life to try to make the series real. Okay, that's not a good thing. Look at all the bad things that happened in the series. Plus, possession isn't real, especially in the same way that FNAF's possession works, okay? That's entirely fictional. And besides, there is no actual FNAF restaurant or location for you to go to anyway, so please stop commenting it, at least on our videos, so I don't have to see it. Ignorance is truly bliss.
Number 2. Virtual Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Personally, my favorite restaurant that I've visited thus far through FNAF was actually a virtual one. I love the virtual version of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that we get to visit in the FNAF VR experience, Help Wanted. I'd either love to go visit this version as a walk-around virtual experience that was actually integrated into a room, so I could experience it sensorially as well. I don't know if sensorially is a word, but I said it. so now it's a word. That's how it works. I'm apparently Shakespeare. I'd also really love to experience physically having an animatronic to repair, like something that you actually can see in the game, but you could actually reach out and like touch the parts of the animatronic that you're fixing. That'd be really cool. And I'd just love to see this version brought to life, whether it be in a virtual setting or in like a real world. You can go inside the restaurant setting. Perhaps we could even have a sneaky glitch trap there who only appears faintly in the background somehow, or is hiding in the dark, and you basically get a prize if you manage to spot them. That could be creepy, but also fun. Number 1. Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. Obviously, this is the one we'd all most love to go to, I assume, because go-karts! I love go-karts. But seriously, the Mega Pizzaplex appears to have it all. It has mini putting, go-karts, a salon, laser tag, ice cream, arcades, animatronics, pizza, all the things you could possibly want, and a ball pit, which honestly, I don't really want a ball pit, but it's there for people that like ball pits. So this is definitely the place to visit if we could only have one of these places made into a reality. Of course, I don't know if I'd want to get stuck there overnight with animatronics, like is probably going to happen in the game, and with Vanny possibly chasing me and trying to kill me, but during the possibly much safer operating hours, you bet. Just not overnight, and not alone, and not being chased by animatronics.